everyone to another episode of Conscious Couture. And today we have a brand that checks all the boxes when it comes to sustainability and ethics when it comes to a fashion brand. I'm talking about House of Hindee by Anhad Bhullar Malhotra, who has started this beautiful brand, not just beautiful in terms of its products, but the whole process that it goes through, right from its design to its ultimate production to the customers. Welcome, Anhad. We are very, very happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much, Samana. It's such a beautiful initiative that you guys have, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. And of course, be here, talk to you about my story, about sustainability as a topic specifically in the fashion industry. And I'm very grateful to be here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We are very, very thankful to you too. So your journey is interesting in many different ways. It is diverse geographically too.
Yes,
So it's when it started as an international business student in Scotland, from there
correct.
to moving to lifestyle and luxury and sustainability. So what was this transformation like in terms of your change in perception? How did
Okay.
it affect your understanding of that whole ecosystem?
Right. Okay. So basically, my journey started um, when actually I was born into an entrepreneurial family. So I think it goes back to the day I was born pretty much because both my parents and I've kind of been born into a family which has always put design and entrepreneurship at the forefront of their life in general. So my father is ex-army and he was very talented since the day one when he was in the army as well. So he decided to forego that career and come into the design and enterprise. And he started his furniture design company back in the 80s, late 80s, even before I was born. And of course, my mom, who's a qualified interior designer, she studied interior design in her college. And then the two of them, when they got married, they started their interior design and furniture business back in 1987, so to speak. Uh, and I was born in 89, and I was always in the office working with mama and papa, working on the even on the drawing board. I was always surrounded by good art, good design, good way of, creating things by hand. And a family business, we specialize in very high end furniture design and um, beautiful interiors in general. So my love for the design was always existent. It was always there in me. However, my when I was in school, I really enjoyed studying business. Like I really enjoyed the accounting side of it, the business side of it, and it was something that interested me. So it was very clear and evident for me that I would like to pursue the business aspect of the design enterprise that we're in, because design is something I personally feel that cannot be taught. It's something either either you're born with it, or you really train yourself to train yourself to kind of keep developing that eye. And the minute you're born with it and you train it thoroughly, that's when you can reach somewhere. So it's always a combination of the two. It takes a lifetime in any industry to form a space for yourself, to create a brand for yourself and create an identity which resonates not only with you but also with the purpose with which you're doing the business. So for me, it was kind of an amalgamation of it all. So that's my personal background when it comes to my interest in design. Now, when I decided to pursue international business, when I went to Scotland to study Edinburgh, I did 4 years there. And out of the 4 years, I did an exchange program where I went to Babson College in Boston. And that's where I just randomly took a course which was called Sustainability and Enterprise. So, it was just something, how in life you just kind of do things and you don't know where and what will connect when. It's kind of just like one of those things where I just took a course and just thought that might be interesting. I did not know 10 years later I would have a sustainable brand, but at the time I thought it was interesting. Then I went back to Edinburgh, finished my final degree, which was a specialized dissertation on passion, as in how passionate you are about your business and how successful your enterprise is. And at that time, I was one of the only people in a class of 300 students who chose to do a psychological connection with international business. So I did not know then that, business should always have something more than just commerce. And even in the choosing of my topic as my dissertation, it was maybe dots were always being connected, and how it kind of it rolls down. So I finished my degree, and then I came back to India to start working. While I was working with my family business, I got an opportunity to go and do a little work stint in Milan. And that was where I was specializing in a short 3 month sort of project for a Italian furniture company, and presenting to them how they could potentially come into India and sort of do things forward. While I was in Milan, I loved Italy so much. I picked up on the language and I decided to study further. During that time, I was sure that I wanted to do something very, very specialized and not so much broad and generic like business. So then I found a school in Florence, which was Polymoda, um, and they had a specialized course on luxury and lifestyle management. So it was exactly where my family business was at the time. We're a luxury company even now, and it just kind of fit it all together. It just kind of perfectly matched all together. And in my 1 year of studying in Florence, there were various textile design. There were various fashion design houses we met. There was interior design houses we met, and I somehow resonated with the concept of textile and fashion more so than any other industry, so to speak. And then um, it just kind of evaporated in the air, and just I kind of just took it all in and figured out that how is it that we can somehow incorporate all of these things. So this was back in 2014 when I graduated from Florence and came back to India. And then life, how it plays out. Then I was working in London for a couple of years, and then it just somehow figured out. And when I realized that, yeah, this is the field I want to be in, I want to do something in um, whether it's textile or luxury or sustainability or something or the other, to kind of combine it all and put it into one crucible of sorts. So that's how my background is. And then how Hindi started is a different story, and all of that. I believe that's its second question. So I can take it off.
Yes, yes, of course. But that is so beautiful in the sense that you had a DNA in you already regarding design, and you
Yeah,
kind the you way you added to it, way you enriched the entire thing with your understanding of business and how these could be combined. So
yeah,
your brand already has a lot of thought process that has gone into it.
absolutely,
It's not just
absolutely.
randomly we hear, okay, I'm going to start a sustainable fashion brand tomorrow. I know how to
No, no,
design.
no.
It was
That is
not
the
like that.
last thing. And like, I mean, had I put some thought into actually opening a sustainable business, it would have been very different. It's not like that. It has to have some purpose and story behind it to do what you do, because only then does it make me, any sort of meaning for your brand to exist and exist for a long time. Because if you are, you see brands today that are wanting to do sustainable things, and it's like, oh, you go to a large shop and you buy banana fabric and you buy aloe vera fabric and stitch some clothes with it, and oh my God, you're a sustainable brand. No, that's really not how it works. And that's what the audience also needs to understand, that sustainability is such an abused word that you have to be intelligent as an audience to pay the money that you're actually paying, uh, when it should actually have a relevance of sustainability in reality, not just on the card that it says it's sustainable.
That is, I agree with that so much as a consumer because
Yeah,
sustainable brands, apart from being environmentally, socially sustainable in the literal meaning of it, I
yeah,
think it's very difficult to sustain a brand like that if
that
it's just come out of
exactly.
as a
And
random thought.
sustainability today is, the meaning of sustainability is a sustainable brand. However, sustainability, when I studied sustainability in Babson, what that actually meant was, how do you sustain a business for a lifetime by not, not damaging anything around you. So that is what sustainability actually means. Not or how do you sustain the earth, how do you sustain the environment around you, which can last you longer than your own lifetime. So that is what sustainability means, and nobody really gets that right now. So I suppose initiatives like yours and us, we're kind of trying to tell that story, which in our own little humble way, whatever we can. So we have to keep singing our song till the time we can.
Absolutely. I totally agree with it. That's a beautiful way to
Yeah,
point out. I mean, how to, I think it's also very useful for brands who are just about to start and we're struggling to find, we want to do
of course.
something well in the fashion industry, but what you said is very helpful for them as well. So
Yeah.
yes, after all these preparation, when you come back and you say,
Yes.
okay, I'm going to build a brand. Now
Right.
I understand you are operating mainly the whole idea is to do the operations and the kind of craft comes from Himachal Pradesh, which is in the
Correct.
northern side of
Correct.
India.
Yes.
Perhaps one of my most favorite
Favorite.
states in India. I
Mine
mean,
too.
not being
Mine too.
biased. Yeah.
Mine too.
So how did that happen? And that too,
Okay.
the way you started with tweed, the textile, which is not that common among all fashion brands. Like when I hear people who have studied fashion design or any kind of fashion business outside India, and they come back, there's a certain kind of niche that people go for. Let's say,
Yes.
for example, certain kind of sarees they go for when they think about heritage, traditional wear in India. And for you
Yeah.
to go into this particular field and choosing Himachal Pradesh, what was the whole rationale behind that?
It again, life has their ways of connecting dots, and you don't know how and when and what comes forth. So it was basically my parents. We still have a piece of land, which is a beautiful land in a lovely little quaint village, and it just so happens to be in an industrial piece of land. So so over the years we've had it for many years, and it's our own space. So we've done various different types of things during the last couple of years, 20-30 years, to kind of sustain that piece of land as well. Because if land not utilized well, if not, if it doesn't give you something in return, it kind of disintegrates into just nature, and then you just kind of have to forget about it. So to kind of keep it going, keep it active, we've over the years done lots and lots of small enterprise development from that piece of land, which includes creating organic haldi, create growing our own, having our own tea, having our beautiful spices like bay leaves and nutmeg and all sorts of things over the past years. And it just so happens that Himachal has you know, the Gadi tribe, which coexists with the Himachal region, uh, happens to have this fabulous technique of weaving, which very few people know about. So back in maybe 2015 or 16, we had gone for a trip with my dad and my parents and everything, and we just kind of stumbled upon a small workshop in Himachal in the same sort of region, and we saw this old man. He must be like maybe in his 80s at the time, just sitting there quietly and doing crack 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 on his traditional wooden loom. And I just took some inspiration images because I thought it was so beautiful, and I told him to create something special for me, like a blanket. And dad keeps going, so every few months, he goes, few weeks or months he goes, and he then the next trip he went and he brought that shawl back for me when he went again next. And I saw that piece, and it was one of the most modern and beautifully handcrafted pieces that I had seen, which I just think this industry, the wool industry, is so biased towards the entire pashmina and the cashmere version of it, where you're just constantly making things that are softer, which are more, commercial, which are more expensive, which are more like, solving a purpose of fashion rather than really the craft. So, 2016, I believe. Yeah, 16, 17. So we just kind of decided that let's see what we can do with this. So we developed a few more techniques, some designs, got them woven. Then the more and more and more we kept getting involved in this, we figured that, there is something which is beautiful that can be created out of this. It's such an underutilized and a um, uh, how can I say, niche market that nobody knows about it. And most importantly, it's a dying art form. That old man, 80-year-old, when I asked him, is there anybody else who's going to help you on this, he said, no, my kids are studying engineering and they're doing this and that, and nobody is really interested in taking my art form ahead. So that's something that really touched us and said that, yaar, aise kitne aur log hain, there are so many other people sitting there whose art form is just dying, that they are making such a beautiful product, that why should we let it die as young kids. So that's how the kind of the concept started, where we had an opportunity in front of us which was just lying vacant for somebody to come and develop it. And not only develop it by giving them money कि अच्छा आप ये हमारे लिए piece बनाओ और हम आपसे ले लेंगे. It was not that. It was again in its true sense sustainable. How is it that we can sustain a craft today that can last 20 years extra, now that it was dying already? We can buy it some more life. And then we started kind of working towards the whole concept, and I figured that there are so many women in the whole Gaddi tribe that know this, but they don't have an opportunity for this to kind of develop a livelihood for themselves and create their next generation also, to train them and to do things which can also be beneficial for their entire community in general. So we slowly got on board women. We hired them full time, giving them fair wages, giving them full place to stay, to eat, to do everything from the neighboring village, and just come to our unit and slowly set up the looms and set up the charkhas, and slowly start developing this entire product in house. So over the years, it has taken a lot of capital, a lot of resources, a lot of constant hard work, and with meager resources to kind of develop a product and then develop a demand for a product. It was not easy to just start something which there are hardly any buyers for. So how do you create a product that is so beautiful that you create a demand for a product? So that is what Hindi did. That is what my brand did when we incorporated in 2018. Officially, tweed was a very small aspect of my brand. Now it is the only aspect of my brand, purely because the purpose, and it has taken me 4 5 6 years to kind of now develop an eye for the people, to you know to understand what we're talking about, to now actually uh, create an audience which is ready for my product. And my exposure to Italy, to America, to the UK, to the top interior design, to top furniture design companies, fashion design companies, I know what the international market likes. And that was the niche that I wanted to target. So now the textile that we create, we convert that textile into beautiful clothing, into beautiful top class furniture pieces, home accessories, lifestyle goods, cushions, carpets, and all sorts of things. And which is not restricted only to the craft. It is now an art. Now it is a dying art form, and b, a very very contemporary, well made international product which can compete with the Scottish Harris tweed, the tweed which I was inspired in my time when I was in Edinburgh. And the Scottish tweed, which is also grown in the Hebrides, and how the Harris tweed has become a brand symbol and a status symbol. I want Hindi tweed to be that symbol in India, and eventually I'm going to get there. It's going to take a couple of more years and a lifetime of research that keeps on going into developing it. And along this entire process, it was very easy for me to just say, acha chalo theek hai, let me just buy the yarn machine se bana hua, and I can just weave it here and I can just call it hand spun. That was the choice that I made, to kind of not compromise on the craft and not compromise on. I can easily make it at half the price, but no, we are choosing not to do that because we are choosing to do the entire thing by hand. A, to preserve the quality, A, to preserve the B, to preserve the craft, and most importantly, to occupy and generate a livelihood for the women who are good at what they are doing. And then, of course, to tell a story also that this is what really sustainability means. It's not only कि अच्छा machine से बना हुआ कपड़ा आप ले आओ, which is so-called aloe vera fabric and so-called milk yarn and all that crap, which is you using tons and tons and tons of water to make, and then so much of electricity to make, and so much of mechanization and so much of chemicals to soften. That's not sustainable. Just because your original thing was some fiber which you took from a plant doesn't necessarily mean you're sustainable. And also the concept of, oh, vegan leather, faux fur, and all that because it's not sustainable. You're trying to be sustainable by not using animal skin, but how much are you damaging the environment in making something? So I am dead against all these brands who use, oh, vegan leather. I'm like, that's not vegan. If you are buying a ethically bought leather skin or a fur skin, that is sustainable because it will disintegrate into the earth and you're not damaging any of the environment, and it has been put to good use. So this is a very controversial topic and I don't want to quote it here, but um definitely sustainability is more than just using a faux or just using a vegan or just buying lyocell or something like that. So this is what you have to as a magazine, you guys have to kind of focus on this. And I'm happy to talk separately only on this topic because over the years I've done a lot of research on the concept of sustainability, and I personally am a sustainability advocate. And that does not mean I don't buy fast fashion. It just means that you buy mindfully and you buy things and you preserve things and you do things in a more logical manner which are genuinely sustainable. So there's an entire topic of discussion on that. But you know where I'm coming from, and I've given you a little background of how Himachal happened and how the whole thing happened. So yeah.
Thank you, Anhad. There are so many things that you said that I not just resonate with, but
Yeah.
it's reminding me of the initial days when I started off thinking of starting a sustainable fashion magazine because
Yeah.
coming from a science background, it's very easy to get lost in just the fabric material. And
Exactly.
this is something I would love to learn from you later on
Yeah.
sometime. Is that
Yeah.
yes, I understand. I'm not saying everybody has to go wear only synthetic fabrics, but just buying natural fabrics or a brand
Yeah.
just making using some new kind of fabrics does not make it sustainable. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, this realization has come over the years, and this is exactly what I'm trying to also convey to everyone coming for the magazine or to the audience is that there are many aspects of sustainability.
Absolutely.
There are many aspects of it. You can choose something very that is available locally, but just because something is available locally does not also make it always sustainable. There are
Sustainable. Absolutely.
many different
Yeah.
aspects. And
Yeah.
what I loved about is how you worked with started working with the Himachal Gatti tribal women, because ethics. If I talk about ethical fashion brands, I'm trying to curate those brands who are. Recently, I heard somewhere that it was the United Nations who said that we are losing thousands of native languages
Yeah.
per day,
Per day. Yeah.
per
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Because there's no
And
one to
that
take it
was,
forward.
yeah, there's no one to take it for. It is quite alarming. And there's one thing when I was studying and working in Europe, one thing I really admired about them is that they are always trying to preserve their culture, if nothing else, their language.
Yeah.
So when I said I come from a state in India where weaving, different kinds of weaving and crafts used to be our most in-demand profession, that is the profession that used to bring us the most prosperity. And we've almost
Exactly.
lost it.
Yeah.
And so it's not just here in Bengal, it's there all across in different corners of India, not just different corners of India, and different many other such countries as well. So,
Exactly.
like you said, finding that tradition itself, I think it's a huge kudos to you that you went through that, explored it, and you realized, okay, this
Still
is
doing
something.
it. Still going through it every day. And Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it's it's beautiful. And then since you have a business background, you like you said, it's not about only me liking the product. There has to
yeah.
be a demand for it, market
Demand
for
for
it.
it. You also have to create the demand for it, and that's where
Yes,
your business ethics come. And that's what how good you are as a storyteller and you are to sell your product. That is where marketing comes. That's where business comes. That's where to how do you create a product. I mean, we stumbled upon this product. It was not that, oh my God, like this, that. But how do you convert that product into a commercially viable, you know, business? And that is where our ingenuity and that is where my business background comes. That's where, commerce comes. Like, that's where the longevity of the business comes. That, okay, craft तो बहुत अच्छा है, craft तो बहुत लोग कर रहे हैं, but craft को आगे बेचने के लिए कुछ उसका product भी तो होना चाहिए ना.
absolutely. That
So
is
yeah,
absolutely. And now coming to the beauty aesthetics of your brand. When I first came across your website or your
yeah,
Instagram, it has a very pleasant aesthetic that I would say is it's easy to find brands. I mean, certain things work for certain brands and that's why they do it. But when I look at your website or your Instagram, you're making sure that, okay, we're not deviating from a certain kind of aesthetics that we have
aesthetic.
defined. And
Yeah,
that is that I found really beautiful. Another thing, when I scrolled through your website that really caught my attention is one of your women who work with you holding a paper saying that I made your clothes.
yeah,
And for many of us who might not be familiar with this campaign, it has
fashion
a lot
revolution.
of,
Yeah,
yes, it has a lot of value and meaning behind it. So that is one thing that was probably the first thing that made me reach out to you and say that, I want to speak to you. Could you please talk a little bit about that?
sure. So when Fashion Revolution, started this campaign and said that, okay, who makes your clothes? Because it is such a viable question when all the, Bangladesh buildings collapsed and how abused the community is of workers. So that kind of, got everybody thinking as to what really goes behind your little t-shirt. How long does it go, how far does it go behind, where does the kapra come from, where does it get cut, how does it get shipped to get stitched, where does it get dyed, how much water is used, who makes it, and how much do they get paid to make that one t-shirt, and how much do you sell it at 3.99 in Zara or H&M on sale. So how much does, if people on sale are selling a t-shirt for $3, tell me how much was it actually made for? That question. I mean there's a whole plethora of books and designs and things that talk about this, and companies that are talking about this, and people who are talking and advocating sustainability and this thing, but they're only just talking about it, right? It's one thing to talk about it, and one thing is that, oh, go and challenge it and say that, okay, this is really how much a t-shirt costs. It doesn't cost $3 to make, it bloody costs $30 to make, and then also we are paying out of our pocket. So when you are actually choosing the sustainability life, that is half my challenge. When you're actually using sustainability as a lifestyle, as an as a as a as a religion, you have to kind of look back and say that price is not even a question. The audience, if I don't look at the price tag, how much it's taking me to make month after month after month, and putting real resources behind it, the audience should not even think about questioning how much effort it takes. And if somebody is genuinely making sustainable products, they can physically cannot sell it to you at a discount at a cheap price. So if a brand out there is selling you a sustainably made 1,000 rupees ki t-shirt or dress or jacket, bhai sahab, it's not sustainable, because it has got nothing to do with sustainability. It has been used and abused and compromised, and people have been compromised who have made it. So that fashion revolutions campaign resonated with me a lot, and it's a very very old campaign. It's not that it's recent. So I just decided to kind of become a part in it, and became sort of, I decided to get those and download those, and images, and use them, and then put them up in my studio as well, just to realize that even the people who are making it, they also get a sense of identity, that bhai maine bana. Like it has to work both ways. Now, if I take all the credit for doing something that they are making for me, that's not fair on me also, and that's not sustainable on me either. So it's just a way of telling them also that, look here, this is also going a long way. So if the ladies see my website and see their face on it, they'll feel more empowered to do it better, right? So they know that, yeah, we are acknowledging their effort that goes behind into making their clothes, or making their yarn, or making their fabric, or making their textile, or whatever it is that it comes your way. Now, in the hustle bustle of commerce and creating an e-commerce website, and all sorts of things, Hindi also has to keep on uh, making a conscious effort to be connected with that old spirit of, the House of Hindi. So we are trying our level best to keep on constantly develop a product which is a commercially viable, but also has a little bit of essence in reality. So that me being part in that campaign was purely and purely to kind of have the women resonate with what they are doing also, and telling them that this is also going a long way. Like, you connected with it, there are so many people who might have seen it as well, and then also kind of resonate the idea of sustainability from ground level, rather than just on the marketing level. So that was my reason to use that.
That's really incredible because these people are not just creating something uh, like we have different, we say, I mean, we kind of categorize workers in our society in different levels. But if you really look at the people who are making clothes, they are artists. So why
Oh,
not give
absolutely.
them that that recognition? So it's beautiful that you participated in this. And I think because you put so much first thought into the business aspect of it, also the design aspect of it, and also respecting and acknowledging the people who are helping you out with it, I think the results, the product of that we saw in your collection, which is the romancing the uniform, which was
Uniform, yeah. Thanks.
beautiful. And it was like I was thinking that day, it was like time travel, going to these, the way you described how you made those uniforms, what thoughts you put into it, into the different buckles and the little things. I want you to
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about how come military inspired jackets. Now I understand that you have a parental connection to the army, but
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, it was an exhibition that was called Khatam Ban, which was, organized by my parent brand, Anhad Bhullar. And it was basically, Khatam Ban is a technique of woodworking, which originated in Persia, Iran, maybe in the 15th, early 15th century, 16th century. And today, as of today, it's a dying art form as well. And in India, it traveled through the Mughal era, and it came into being and visible only in the area of Kashmir today. So the entire exhibition was developed by my parent brand, by my father, Manjeet Bhullar. He's a top tier designer in the country, and he's known for his exquisite furniture pieces, and again, entirely handmade, entirely with natural materials. We're a very, very sustainable brand all through and through, and that only means we promote the Indian, mm, handcraft industry in general. So, and then convert that into new products. So the entire furniture collection that was presented at the Khatamband exhibit was inspired by this algorithmic technique of Khatamband, which was, originated in, and Kashmir, as we know now, has a little bit of a military connotation to it now. So without touching any wrong nerves, we created a very soft spoken, and my dad is ex army, so he is very, very prominent in his military related exercising, and all the things that he does in for the Indian military in general, over the years, which he's done. So it kind of just amalgamated all together, and we decided that why don't we put together a product which tells the young audience to also connect with the military aspect of India, and not only restricted to the armed forces, and kind of bring it on the street as well. But street in a good way, that that the sense of discipline that a uniform has, a sense of uh, power a uniform has. How is it that the Indian youth can also embody that without actually being a part of the services? So it was a very, very respectful. We used only the natural materials that Hindi makes. We only used sustainable products inside, and we of course did not use anything actually coming from the Indian military, which is currently being used, which we're not allowed to do so specifically. But we used it, we recreated it and developed it in our own materials, like medals and buttons and buckles and all sorts of things. So it was, it took about 6 to 8 months to kind of, from scratch to finish, conceptualize the whole product. And of course it was a very encapsulated collection of about 12 pieces. We also had a menswear partner who made a menswear collection on that. But all in all, the concept was to create a capsule collection which embodies uh, more than just a jacket. It has a story behind it. It gives you a sense of purpose. It gives you a sense of discipline. It gives you a sense of strength when you wear that armor. And Hindi, our textile is a strong fabric. So it automatically protects you from what's yet to come. So, and if it is stitched and made into a garment which is so um, formal, one collects it as a collectible. It's not really just a, it's not really just a jacket then. So that's how the Militaria Romancing the Uniform collection was made and exhibited at the Bikaner House in November last year. So yeah, so we aim to keep on doing collections like these, which have more meaning and more, um, purpose than just yet another collection which launches every 3 months. It's not like that. So yeah.
I love how you described it, and we also said that you said it before as well, that there has to be a purpose to everything that you're doing,
Yeah,
and which is
of course.
probably why I can see that the brand is very holistic in many, many, many senses.
Yeah.
And so the last thing I would just want to know is where is House of Hindi heading now? Where do you see, how do you see it growing in the coming years?
See, I have lots of dreams and aspirations and ideas and what to do with Hindi and how to grow. So, every day you feel like, oh no, nothing is happening. And then you look back and you see that, oh my God, so much has happened and so much you achieved. So, where we are going international. We are going to London. We are going to, expand rapidly. We are going to continue telling our same story. We are going to create products that are world class. We're going to come up with new collections. We've launched an e-commerce website. We've launched new product categories. All of it has happened very recently and is going to continue happening. We're putting up a lot of time and effort and strength into strengthening the design research which goes behind into making the fabric. We are constantly developing new products, and most importantly, we are doing all of that, um, sticking to the story. We are not digressing from the non-mechanized, non-chemical, non, you know, mechanical sort of product. So we are going to stick to that story, but we are going to constantly keep coming up with new collections that have more meaning to them rather than just yet another collection. Have and just like I said, we're just gonna keep singing our song till the time we get an Oscar for it. So we're just gonna keep going. Sorry,
That's lovely
that's
to
it.
hear. And it has been, I have learned so much from you, from everything you said. And I
Thank
do
you.
want to keep learning from you. And
Of
to
course.
everyone watching, I would like to say that this is not just, I started this magazine and in this channel particularly, just to bring people to this realization that no, sustainable brands does not just mean a certain kind of that you have to go for certain kind of fabrics, or it's difficult to find. Because for us consumers, I live in a tier one city and we are surrounded by fast fashion brands all the time. So it's a
all the
common
time.
concern. Yeah, it's a common concern that we don't see such brands. And even if we do, we don't know how long these brands are going to live because we don't know what the people behind this. So that was the idea that
Yeah,
these brand owners, the designers, they have come to this point where they are branding themselves as sustainable and ethical after a lot of thought and research that people like you are putting in. So
mm,
I hope everyone who watched here today learned something
thank
out
you.
of it. And I would really, really encourage you to please go check out House of Hindee's website and their
Thank you.
Instagram. I'm going to put the links below. And
Yes,
we have also written a featured article on them in a previous edition. I'm going to put that link here below as well. So I
absolutely.
hope that helps you understand that it is possible to have a good uh, fashion industry. Not everything is bad about it. There are people
Of course.
working towards it. And to you, Anhad, please, I hope that we'll have a long-lasting relationship.
Of course. Of
Just to
course.
learn a lot from you, to see how
Absolutely.
you're growing. It's very inspiring. And
Thank you.
thanks a lot for coming and sharing your story with us today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I wish you all the very best for everything that you and your magazine are doing. I hope you get lots and lots of new subscribers, and most importantly, you are successful in telling the story that you're trying to tell. Because with each episode, with each, you know, discussion, so many boxes open up, so many discussions open up, and it'll give, new customers and new audiences the ideas of, sustainability is very, very vast and very, very long as a topic, not just a very short term tick mark. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. And if there's anything else you would like, for us to collaborate with in the future, count me in. And thank you so much, so much.
Thanks a lot to that's very, very kind of you. I'll see everyone in the next episode. And Ahmad, I wish you a wonderful day and a wonderful
Thank you.
upcoming year for you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Take care.